everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and a special welcome to Tyler J, one of the coolest dudes around, believe that, and to the nurses and staff on A7 East. We are the realest floor in the hospital, hands down. Alright, so as you can probably tell from the title, this video is going to be a story time, my very first story time on this channel. I'm going to be talking about how a date between me and a guy that I met on Plenty of Fish got real awkward. So if you want to know how it all went down, then keep watching. So before I got married, I dabbled a lot actually in online dating. Several of my boyfriends actually I've met from different online dating sites like Match.com and POF. No shame. I had no shame about it then. I have no shame about it now. I think that online dating is actually a great tool for meeting people because for people like me whose life basically consisted of work, home, church, and that's it. It's really hard to meet single people. I wasn't meeting them at work because I'm here to work and, you know, there's all older people around who are not in my age bracket. Wasn't meeting them at home because obviously I live alone. And I wasn't meeting them at church because, well, let's just say God hadn't brought the rain yet. So how else am I going to meet single people if I'm not like going out places? So I feel like online is a good place to have access to those people. So a couple of years ago, I started hearing about this new online dating site called Plenty of Fish, or POF. I have a friend that actually calls it like POF, Plenty of Fakes. So for this video, I'm going to talk about the time that I met this guy. Let's call him Tom. I met Tom on POF. I may make a separate video about like my online dating experiences and some other things, but for this video, we're just gonna talk about like, you know, meeting Tom. So, you know, I get to POF, I upload some cute pictures, I do a cute little bio and, you know, talking back and forth with different guys, and Tom is one that I kind of started to like. We transitioned from talking online to texting, and you know, the logical next step after texting should be a phone call, but you know, I felt like guys online and nowadays like don't really understand that's the next progression, like we should be talking on the phone. We had a phone conversation. I was actually somehow able to convince him. Isn't that crazy? I had to convince him to get on the phone with me. Like, let me just pause. Dating nowadays is ridiculous. Like, the fact that I gotta convince you, I feel like dating is just trying to convince people to like you enough to keep talking to you and not fall off. Like, my heart goes out to everybody. I'm a singles advocate because struggle is real. Okay, so like I said, I was able to convince him to talk to me on the phone. It was kind of weird because even when we were just texting, he'd only want to talk and text at night. Also kind of weird, he said he worked a third shift job, so I don't know how he was able to sneak away while he was at work to have a phone call. You know, hindsight is 20/20, so you know, a lot of this, as I'm saying, is not making a lot of sense, but you know, young and dumb, in the moment you just do things, so whatever. Talking to him on the phone, and his background is quiet. Like, creepily, eerily quiet. Like, it's just too quiet. So I'm like, where are you? And he's like,
oh yeah, I had to like step in another room. I had to step away. And I'm talking to you in a conference room.
Knowing what I know now, I do believe that he stepped away to go in another room to talk, but I don't think he was stepping away from work. Yeah, not from work. Okay, so we're talking and laughing and joking, and I'm like kind of starting to like him. So somehow we decide, I think it was his idea, that we're gonna meet up. So we decide a couple days later to meet up at a Chipotle. The location was kind of out of the way. It wasn't too far of a drive, but I was fine with that because I didn't really want to be seen by people because, you know, this is a guy I'm kind of just trying to talk to see if I like him. So I was okay with it being out of the way. And apparently he was okay with it being out of the way because we both didn't want to be seen by people, I didn't want to be seen by friends. But again, as I keep telling the story, you'll see why he really didn't want to be seen by anybody. So the encounter itself was okay. I had these butterflies because, you're meeting a guy that you like, and it was our first time meeting up. But I can distinctly remember having this feeling or having this thought, like something told me, pay for your own meal. Just pay for it yourself. That something that, like, that helper that, like, lives inside you, like that Pericles, that helper that lives inside you, he was like, pay for your own food. So I was like, okay. And, I've been on dates before. I never had the feeling like, oh, I should probably, pay for my own meal. No. But this date, I remember having that feeling very strongly. So we're at Chipotle. I was in front of him, so I was able to get to the checkout before him, and I just paid and then kind of stood at the counter and waited for him to come and finish his ordering. So he kind of looked at me like, what? You paid? And I was like, yeah, no, it's okay, it's fine. Something I just wanted to do. So he was a little confused, but he just kind of like brushed it off, and we just continued on. So we sit down, we eat, we're done eating. He walks me to my car. We hug. There was no kiss, which I was okay with anyways, because I was already like, I'm just trying to see if I like you just as a person, really. And then we get in our cars and we go to our separate homes. And we kind of keep talking after that date, but eventually we talk less and less, and we just fall off completely and just stop talking. Like, y'all know how that goes. That's, dating in this century. So a couple months later, when I say a couple of months, I mean like 2 months later, I'm in a full-blown relationship now with a new guy that I also met on that website. Let's call him Brad. So in a relationship with Brad, and he decides he wants to make us like Facebook official, because that means that you're really together, I guess. I don't know. So he wants to make us Facebook official and like post a picture on, his page. At the time, I was like nervous because I'm a fairly private person, like when it comes to dating. I really don't like to talk about, like, this is the guy that I'm dating, unless we've been dating for a while or I'm really sure of it, because I've been really sure before and it wasn't it. So, I didn't want to, like, be embarrassed. So I was like, okay, you can post this on your page, but there's this little setting, I guess, you can have on Facebook where if someone posts a picture of you and they tag you, it only shows up on their page and not on, like, your page. So he posts this picture, tags me in it. It's a cute picture of us. I was wearing some like long 22-inch weave, makeup done, and we're hanging out. And so I go on his page, and I look at the comments because it's getting a lot of likes and people are commenting. And one of the first comments is from this beautiful girl, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. You guys look so good. Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. And I'm like, ow, thanks, sis. Like, let me go on her page and see who she is, because she's beautiful as well. Thank you. Women supporting women, giving women compliments. I'm all for that. So I go on her page, like, oh, okay, let's see who she is. And like, I stop because I'm like, I see a familiar face. Who you thought that was? Who do you think the familiar face was? It was Tom. And who do you think she was? That was his sister? No. That was his cousin? No. That was his wife. That was his wife. That was his wife. And I have to like kind of bring myself back and figure out how I want to respond. So I do the math. I'm trying to figure out, okay, we went on a date this month, and I'm trying to figure out the time between we went on this date at Chipotle and I'm with this new guy and he's obviously with this new woman, how much time had passed. So like, I'm just trying to do the math. Carry the one. Like, it wasn't that much time that had passed. Like, it was that much time. That's how long it lasted. So I'm thinking, stay calm. stay calm. Don't overreact. Because maybe he met her, they dated, he really liked her, they got engaged, and then got married in 2 months, because it happens. You know, it happens. What I'm also thinking is, or he was already engaged, maybe was trying to get it out of his system before the wedding. Like, maybe you went out on a date with a guy who was already engaged. And I'm trying to keep calm because I'm like, is that what happened? My eye was like twitching. I'm like, is that what happened? Did that happen to me? So obviously, you know, I'm not annoyed by the fact that he moved on. Obviously, I had too. My concern was how much overlap was there. Were you engaged? Y'all had already picked the venue. She picked her dress. Invitations are out. And then was also on a date with like other people. Why are you on a dating site if you already are engaged? Like, aren't you done with that part of your life? So that was really my frustration. But I'm like, you know, maybe that's not what happened. So I asked Brad, like, Brad, do you know this woman's husband, Tom? He's like, yeah, I know him. Like, apparently they all went to school together. Small world. Apparently they all went to school together. He's like, yeah, I know they're married. And so I'm like, well, how long have they been married? And he's like, I mean, not that long, for a little while now. I'm like, how long is a little while? So I'm like, did he just meet her, or do they have history? And he's like, yeah, that's his longtime girlfriend that he's been dating since we've been in high school. And he tells me all these stories about stuff that's happened when they were dating in high school and even afterwards. And I'm trying to gather, basically from what he's saying, it sounds like they've been dating consistently since high school and that there wasn't a break. So that makes me believe that he was engaged while we went on this Chipotle date. And I'm like, you know what? The only thing that I can redeem myself with is, well, you know, I did pay for my own food. So does that make it a date? I paid for my own food. Was it just two people sitting down talking? I'm just trying to keep myself sane at this point, because adultery is not something that I want to ever engage in. It's too close, all right? The time was so short that I'm sure a date was already picked. I'm sure a venue was already picked. Like, they could have already had a dress. Like, it was so short. And so, I mean, I guess I'll never know if he was engaged or not, but I just don't like how close the timing of it was. I just don't like it. What's funny is I was in a group chat at the time with a couple of my friends from college, and so they knew about like me meeting him and me going out on a date with him. So you know how it goes down in group chats between girlfriends. When I told them what happened, they were like, finish him. Like, they wanted me to expose him because, you know, I had pictures of him. You know, there was one time where I asked him basically, do you have tattoos? Because we're still getting to know each other. And he sends me a picture of himself, like, shirtless as his response. And I was like, okay, ... question mark. And he was like, do you see any tattoos? I'm like, no. He goes, yeah, I don't have any. Like, he could have just said no, but he just wanted me to see that he had a nice body, I guess. Thirst trap. Whatever. It was weird, but I was willing to overlook it. But, you know, so I had pictures of him. And so they were like, you need to expose him. You know, Facebook message his wife. And I was like, you know, he's married now. And maybe that was something that was happening before he got married, but now that, you know, he's in a marriage, they're gonna have a fresh start, and, you know, it's kind of like from this point forward, go forward in peace. You know, I didn't want any parts of that. But, you know, this situation poses a great question that I was thinking to myself, and then I'm gonna pose to you all. You can answer it in the comments. Should men who are engaged wear rings? So, you know, a woman gets engaged, she's the one who gets the ring. And the man is just walking around, nothing to really show that he's engaged. should they wear engagement rings now? The woman wearing the ring, I know, is more so for other men to see, like, hey, don't come after my girl. She's promised to me. We got this thing going on. Don't do it. But, you know, times are changing now, and women are shooting their shot. And you don't really know a man is engaged if he's not wearing a ring unless he tells you, no, I'm engaged. You hope that that's what he does. But would it be helpful for them to just wear, like, you know, these little, like, rubber rings that, like, nurses wear and you can wear when you are, like, working out? It's just like a placeholder, I guess. So it's just like a little rubber ring. They have them in different colors. You can get it on Amazon. They're, like, cheap. Just little placeholders. So should men wear these? Not saying the woman has to go out and buy him a ring because he'll get one. He'll get the wedding band on the wedding day. But should they wear something like this that's just kind of a placeholder to just let other women know I'm accounted for, you know, I'm not single. I mean, I am single, but I'm moving in the direction of being with somebody else. Should men do that? I think it's a good idea. I also want to say, though, that if he already want to go out there and do whatever he gonna do, that a ring is not gonna make him faithful. It's not. He can just take it off and go and do what he gonna do. It just kind of brings some accountability. You know, if he's wearing it, other people know. He not gonna act all crazy, I guess, if he knows other people know. But it's like a heart check. You know, does he really want to be married if he's not willing to wear a ring, or he's not willing to show in some kind of way that he's already accounted for and moving towards marriage with somebody? So it's just something that I'm wondering. All right, loves, that is it for this story time. Thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Answer the question down below about if you think that men who are engaged should wear rings. And I will see you next week for another video.